Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Destina. This is Spiritual Bougie Astrology. We're going to be taking a look at the astrological transits for July 31st to August 6th. But August, God. I'm still trying to process that. Anyways, hope everybody's been doing well. I know we've got a lot of new listeners, so I'm going to do a little bit deeper of a recap whenever it comes to some of the previous stuff. Remember, there will be timestamps at the bottom, so if you want to skip ahead, you don't necessarily need the recap. You just want to go to the weekdays, you can do that too. There'll be timestamps on the description for the people that listen on Spotify, but on YouTube, you guys can just click. So, anyways. Oh, there's been a lot going on the last few weeks. A lot of things that have come through. And specifically, for a lot of us, since July 17th, there has been new information, new communication, new ideas, blindsiding of certain things. Because not everybody has had new fun stuff. And bottom line, whether it's been good or bad, we've all felt a certain amount of pressure. Now, in some of our cases, we're feeling pressures on both sides of our chart. We're going to talk about both anyways. For some, we've only been focused on the one side, and we have no clue what's going on over here in parts of the week that we're going into. We'll put a focus on what's going on over here because our focus has been here. What was this focus? Venus. Venus and her hot mess, hot girl, summer energy, turning retrograde in Leo. On July 17th, the day of the new moon in Cancer, the day that the nodes change signs, put a pin in that note about the nodes, by the way, put a pin, we're going to talk about the nodes. On July 17th, Venus arrived at 28 degrees of Leo, and she spent the whole week just going, woo! And we saw an effect in certain people. We saw certain things in their energy. They started to spin. They started to spiral. They started to overthink. They started to project. They had a little bit of a crazy energy. And that crazy energy was very much about a self-serving interest a lot of the times. Why? Because Venus is in Leo. There's a lot of ego to Leo. That does not have to be a negative thing. Ego does not have to be negative. However, if we're only self-serving and we're always leading with our ego, that can be a negative thing. And we've seen the spiral of somebody not getting their way, getting their ego hurt, and starting to kind of lash out or cry out or feel like nothing's going right. And as they were losing their mind, there was pressure in another area. Now, for some people, this other area is actually what's feeding through right here, and they're just not saying it. Or it is this crazy energy that's putting pressure on this side. So my realtors will understand this a lot. You get those buyers that everything should look like it does on HGTV. Ma'am. That's not even a reality TV show. It just shows you the possibilities, but that's super staged. As somebody that has done home building and done renovation, no. Trust and believe. It's fake, but it's pretty. I get it. So, you've had those buyers that they're like, everything should look like it does on HGTV. Everything should be at this price point. I want all the bells and whistles, Leo energy, but I only want to pay this much. And they're not going to give. And every time you try to show them something in their price point, all of a sudden, nothing's good enough. And what do? They want to send you listings for things that are $50,000 above their price point, thinking that you can negotiate everything down. This ain't the market for that. We know that. Whenever you have those buyers, we have those clients, those ones that are never satisfied, it stresses us out. It's not actually our situation that's stressing us out, but it's stressing us out. And that's the indirect energy. This person spinning, spiraling, and losing their mind is stressing him or her out. Now, not everybody's in that necessarily of a situation. Sometimes this has to do with health. Sometimes this has to do with a boss that can't get a grasp on what's going on. They're so into their own little world that they have absolutely no idea what's going on in the universe, what's going on in the company. They're just tuned out. They'll have some hard realities to deal with later, but right now they're tuned out. And as they're tuned out, things aren't getting processed, things aren't getting approved, things aren't happening, something's not getting paid out appropriately. There's becoming a slew of issues. And those slew of issues is putting pressure on the people that are trying to clean the mess, the staff. We have these moments of indirect pressure, but there was something that came through specifically for a lot of people between the 20th and the 23rd because of how all those transits were going, that either made us very, very aware of a fear, made us very, very aware of a situation, and our opinion of something or someone or someplace shifted. It changed. The way we saw that person, the way we saw that situation, it turned. And for some people, that was literally turning your head upside down. You're like, you're not even the person that I thought you were. There was a very big difference in them. Or if you were on the negative sense, like, they're an asshole, I never want to talk to them again. They don't remember. I did this with one of my best friends. We were enemies. We were 16. I mean, that version of enemies. So, we were 15, 16. He dated my homegirl. I was dating his buddy. And then whenever the summer of not so fun, fell apart, we lost them. And as soon as we lost them, we've been best friends ever since. We've never had a fight since then. You could have that too. It's just that flip of the energy. Like, oh, well, you're pretty cool. You're pretty cool too. Let's just go hang out. It's fun stuff. In some way, shape, or form, if you'd only seen something going in a negative way, it flipped. If you've only been seeing somebody in the positive, dreamy light, suddenly your opinion of them flipped. And we're very, very aware of something now. And part of last week, going into this week. So this week again starts on the 31st. So the first part of last week, I'm not good with numbers, guys. You guys know that. I can tell you the transits every day of the week, but I always screw up on the numbers. So don't quote me on any number right then. Well, no. If the Venus retrograde on the 22nd. So the 24th through the 30th. There, I figured that out. There you go. The first part of last week, so the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, we were reeling and very busy either overthinking or actually talking it out and conversing and gossiping a little bit, venting, bitching about whatever just flipped, whatever just shifted, whatever just changed. And after we had a few days of getting it out of our system and venting part of it out, we were able to then go from the raw energy to the more internal. And as we felt some of the more internal energies leading into the weekend, for some of us there was an energy of remorse. For some there was an energy of hurt, confusion, fear, betrayal, hope. There were little glimmers of hope in there too, but no matter what, whatever turned, whoever turned, whatever situation turned for you, whether it was about a career, whether it was about your goals in school, whether it was about a relationship, whether it was about a boss, whether it was about your bestie, whatever flipped, you needed time to process. Last week was about processing. And in the process, we got into the weekend. Now I'm talking about the weekend now that I'm recording. So I'm actually recording this the morning of the 30th. I tried to record yesterday. I didn't have glitches in the system. It was human error because Dusty does dumb stuff every once in a while. And I clicked the wrong things, lost first recording, and then the second recording, it felt like everything was noisy and everything kept going off. And I just, after a little bit, I stopped. But something tells me that I needed to stop because I got a lot of downloads last night, and I'm getting into that part as we continue. But there were things in the weekend. So from the I did it again. The 28th, Friday, into shit. the 29th, Saturday, into the 30th today. Oh my God. There was something that grabbed our attention, something that we became very aware of, something that was talked out, something that was brought to light. And whatever this is that has been brought to light has kind of led us into feeling like we need to get something sound, foundationally sound, structurally sound, logistically sound. We are trying to get something in order. We don't necessarily know that quite yet. Not everybody. Some of us know immediately, like, oh yes, this is going to be my focus and this is what I'm going to be doing the next 2 months. This is all going to be reorganized. We're getting into Virgo energy. There's going to be a lot of organization going on. But it's not all about that. New things have come through this weekend. Whether it was Friday or Saturday or Sunday, there has been new information, new developments, new enlightenment that is now going to be a part of our focus going into this week. And one of the reasons that I was okay after I got into last night, after the moon went into Capricorn, I swear, I was scatterbrained yesterday and Friday too. I'm still a little scattered right now. Better now than what I was. But I was really scatterbrained, and it's like the little Chihuahua dog energy, just bounce, 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 bounce. I'm bouncing everywhere. And it's just like, that is so weird, because I don't usually do that. I'm not usually that kind of person. I don't usually act in that way, but like, okay, fine. But I also felt really compressed. And I told my mom, I was like, I really feel like there's a pressure storm building, because I just feel like there's just pressure all on the top of my head, pushing me down, pushing me into my spine, pushing me into all the way down in my hips. I'm so tense. But after the moon went into Capricorn, I literally spent the first 2 hours of the moon in Capricorn on the floor, just doing different types of like yoga positions and working through different things. And what I was actually feeling was something that needed to unlock, something that needed to be released, something that needed to be purged. There is an alignment energy into the structure and the conversations that are going to be had now that Mercury is in Virgo. And to be clear, Mercury will be in Virgo for 2 months, because we're going to have a Mercury retrograde. It's going to start on August 23rd. We're not technically in shadow based off Mercury's standpoint. However, I said this last week on the Monday part of the episode, that when we had certain elements of last week, they were right when Mars was at that point of shadow, what would be Mercury's point of shadow. So I felt like some of the things that did come through during that time were very, very much tied to what's going to be needed to get reorganized and restructured through the Mercury retrograde. And I'm saying that very specifically because it felt like with a lot of that energy, decisions were made that didn't have a strong foundation yet. And right now, we have the ability to start to build a foundation, but a lot of us, we're going to try to build it too quickly, or we're going to realize that we're still not focusing on what we need to be focusing on. But there is definitely something about realigning ideas and structures and individuals and putting a lot of things into perspective. There are structural changes that are going on, and a big portion of the energy from the weekend, especially Sunday, going into Monday, has a developing energy. There's something that's starting to shift into place. There's something that is starting to come to fruition. There's something that is starting to come to the surface, and it's going to come to the surface later this week. But it's going to come to the surface either right before the full moon, during the full moon, or just like right after the full moon. And for everybody, the full moon is going to be on August 1st. We will start August in a full moon. We will end August in a full moon. Not a blue moon situation. It's not the same sign. We're going to have the Aquarius full moon, then the Pisces full moon. But we are definitely going to have a lot of energy in August. Now, I said earlier there were two pressurized areas of the chart. I talked about Venus. Now I need to really get into what this other area of pressure is. And this now, take the pen. Here's the nodes. Take the pen out of the nodes. Also, since July 17th, the nodes have changed signs. Now, for those that are new, that have not listened to me before, or just starting to listen, the nodes are the signs that indicate what signs we're going to have eclipses in. And on July 17th, the nodes went into Aries and Libra. And I actually have a separate video just about the nodal axis shifting, and it explains it a lot better, that I will put a link in the description for, so just so you guys are aware. When the nodes go into new signs, they start cycles, and that cycle can range anywhere between 18 to 20 months. Everybody started a new cycle. July 17th, baby. We did. When the nodes changed signs, they immediately started to square Pluto. And Pluto is in Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And whenever it comes to Saturn, it is very much about rules, boundaries, structures. If you want a structure to stand for a long time, it must be square, level, aligned. You wouldn't normally put those together, but I'm putting them together. If you're feeling certain pressure on your body, these few days, so Sunday, the day that I'm recording, of course, Monday, are about physically putting something into alignment, physically shifting something or someone, physically dealing with some type of information. Now, the thing about Mercury is it is the logical part of our mind. It rules communication. It rules logistics. But the thing about communication is it's not just here. It's not just the TikTok stuff. It's not just the audible. There's a whole slew of written communication, written agreements, contracts. Sometimes those are karmic contracts. Sometimes those are physical contracts. There is something that needs to be corrected over the next few weeks, put into alignment over the next few weeks, restructured, redeveloped, redone. And it is in the energy between Monday and Tuesday that we get a glimpse of what that is. There is definitely something that needs to get worked on, and it is a physical working. Whether that's a physical working in our body, laying on the floor for 2 hours and stretching in every possible way to get things to decompress, whether that is a physical building that needs to be reviewed, that needs to be audited, that needs to be surveyed to make sure that it's still going to be able to stand, whether it's the foundation. There's going to be a lot of under the surface things this week coming to a head, and we're going to feel that between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Now, I don't necessarily mean that in the most fireworks sense. It's just saying, like, there's something that's coming to a head. There's something that's going to come to the surface these next few days. Some of you might learn about it or get a glimpse of it on Sunday, but I feel like for the most part, it's going to be Monday and Tuesday. The nodes putting a square to Pluto started on the 17th, just like Venus's stuff did. Venus's energy was so predominant and so big that we didn't necessarily have the ability to put focus over here. This other side, whatever Pluto is dealing with in your chart, whatever Capricorn represents in your chart, now we need to take a look at this. The things that we've said, the things that we've done, the things that we've built, the things that we've promised, the things that we are working on, because something needs to be opened up, relieved, decompressed. There can be a bit of an explosive energy to it too, and I'll get to that whenever we get into the actual part of the transit. But the big thing about Pluto and squaring the nodes is we're still squaring the nodes, and we have been since July 17th. But it is by the end of this week that the nodes will finally start to move off of Pluto, which tells me now that Venus is starting to do her hot girl summer energy, again, we're going to be able to focus on this other area for just a moment and get a different idea of something that is either needing to be reorganized, needing to be rebuilt, needing to be restructured, or needing to just kind of blow up. I hate to say it that way, but we'll get into Monday. So, share the screen. Now again, for new people, I do not necessarily read this out by sign. Sometimes I'll actually say like, hey, if you're this rising sign, you're really going to be feeling this energy. But the way that I do this is I will go off of whatever transit is there, and I will give different examples based off of that transit and the energy that I feel from it. I give you the most exact time, but the human effect is that not every transit that happens at 3 o'clock in the morning is going to affect your personal life at 3 o'clock in the morning. The human effect is sometimes it's the night before, and sometimes it's the next day. So I always do try to give a date range while also telling you when the most exact energy is going to be. So just kind of giving everybody an awareness as to what we're going into. But now we're looking at Monday. Monday, July 31st. The moon is in Capricorn. It's going to be in Capricorn most of the day. Right now, the moon's been changing signs in the real later parts of the evening. For me, now I'm in Central Time Zone, so you need to add an hour, subtract hours based off of like where you're at in the world. Being in Oklahoma, I'm like right in the middle. But I know I have people that live in even other countries, so you'll have to kind of do the math for where you're at. Now, I have it at 11:05 a.m. And the reason I started with the 11:05 a.m. is because of the moon. The first lunar transit that we're getting this day is the moon in a trine to Uranus. It is Uranus, for the new listeners. It is Uranus, not Uranus. I am a Gemini sun and Mercury. I can't say Uranus 500 times a day because I will make jokes. It is Uranus. A lot of other astrologers will say Uranus or Uranus. It's Uranus to me. So, just to be clear, there's something a little bit getting shaken up. There's something unexpected. There's something that needs to come to light. Whether it's based off of like technology, whether it's based off of a survey, whether it's based off of something that's already occurred and now we're going to get the results. There's something that is tangible, physical, structural. There's something that's developing, and it's some element of it can be very unexpected on Monday. With the moon's trine to Uranus, we can have that unexpected need to do something, but I don't feel like it's doing it right here. I feel like it's an unexpected energy that's going to tie into the full moon. Why do I say that? Because the full moon is in both Saturn sign and Aquarius, and Uranus sign. It's Aquarius. The moon is in Saturn sign. It is in Capricorn, is only ruled by Saturn. Aquarius is both Saturn and Uranus. This trine to Uranus kind of tells me that there's something that we're about to do. There's something that we're about to see. There's something that needs to take place in the next few days, and whether we knew that it was coming or not, it's like we're finally setting it up. We're finally settling it. So with Uranus, there can be unexpectedness. There could be something in regards to technology. There can be something in regards to like somebody being mad at their boss and not wanting to listen to certain people that are in charge. There can be something along these lines, but there's something that's about to bubble up, and we see the development of that Monday. And this is why I'm saying bubbling and not necessarily the full-on release. Now, whatever unexpected energy comes through in the morning, we get through it rather quickly. And honestly, there's not a lot transit-wise to Monday. We just feel the things that are coming together. We feel that shift coming. Now, later in the evening, though, bump this by hour. The moon, still in Capricorn. So right now, for those that are listening to the audio-only version, I got the wheel at July 31st, 2023 at 7:05 p.m. The moon in Capricorn is going to sextile Neptune. before it conjoins Pluto. Now, this is a common thing. The Pluto and Neptune, they've been in a sextile for decades. I'm not necessarily like clued into that part, but I am looking at the fact that Pluto is so pressurized right now from the nodes. Pluto has been at the bending of the nodes. It's squaring the nodes. When a planet is closer to the south node, then we tend to see that planet take on more of the south node energy. That would be release, that would be purging, that's cutting things off, that's letting things go, that's outgrowing them, it's finding peace. When a planet goes to square the nodes and starts moving towards the north node, then we start to shift towards more gains. What I want, what I desire, what I will have, what I will control. What is my destiny? Where am I going next? What is next for me? Like, that's usually the turn. But Pluto is retrograde. The nodes always move in a retrograde pattern, but Pluto is also retrograde. So before we can have the gains, I've said this before and I'm expressing it again, before we can have the gains of Pluto regaining personal power and taking on newer strength, before we can have that, we got to go back over stuff from before. We got old business, old wounds, old trauma, old situations. Things below the surface that haven't come out yet, that need to be revealed. Some of us are not going to be expecting the revelation because it's not from the person that's been spinning and spiraling. Some of us are going to come home and see like the frustration in our roommate or in our partner. We're going to get that call from our girlfriend going, I'm so sick of life. I'm like, oh, okay. You want me to come over or you just want to talk on the phone? Like, what are we doing? There will be an unexpectedness. And I say that because of Neptune's energy. Neptune tends to cloud things. It clouds our judgment. It confuses us. There's something there that we just, I feel like for a lot of people, what you're going to run into is just something completely unexpected because our focus has been elsewhere. But Pluto has been under so much pressure that something needs to come out. It needs to erupt. I keep saying erupt for a reason. Hear me out. Capricorn is represented by the goat. And I don't care if you're the billy goat or baby goat, because some of y'all got some baby goat energy. Goats like to climb things. They climb anything and everything. Mountain goats climb mountains. The thing is, sometimes it's not a mountain. Sometimes it's a volcano. Sometimes the surface that we're working on needs to crack open. Think of earthquake now. There's a structural shift, a physical shift, something that needs to emerge, something that needs to be seen, something that needs to be revealed, something that needs to be just screamed out to decompress and depressurize. Pluto has been under so much pressure. When the moon makes a conjunction to Pluto, I feel like we see the heightenedness of pressure. Some of us, I'm going to remind everybody again, our roles through this Venus retrograde, we are either the spinning and the spiraling, we are the ones that have been left behind because we forgot our wallet, now we're stuck in the parking lot, or we are the supporters and the spectators trying to juggle everything. The spinning and spiraling ones, they're the ones on the tilt-a-whirl, they're the ones on the ride. But the person that's outside trying to hold the prizes, hold the funnel cake, and all of the drinks, and all of the bags, and take all the photos, you're dropping something after so much time. Dropping the prizes, that's fine, they can dust off and clean. Shirts are washable. Dropping the funnel cake, you're buying a whole new one. Dropping your phone, you can potentially break it, and you'll have to buy a new one there too. It happens. But we're getting so close and we've been holding on to stuff for so long and we've been juggling things for so long that we're about to see something that needs to stop juggling, and we're either going to throw it all in the air or we're going to see that crack in the surface. The quake, the opening, the eruption, if it's a volcano. Something's either going to drop Monday evening, Something is either going to crack open or somebody is going to explode. I don't need the explosive in the sense of like sheer fighting, but there's been so many things triggered for Pluto. Fear, trauma, transformation, power, and power struggles. And we've seen those triggers, we've felt those triggers recently. The Sun's opposition to Pluto, which also happened on the 22nd, during that Venus retrograde, there was something that we were meant to see. There's something that came to light. There's something that we became very, very aware of that we still haven't even had the chance to process because we've been dealing with Venus. We are going to be forced to process something. We are going to be forced to deal with something or someone Monday night going into Tuesday. Now, the eruption can be literally what I expressed in the sense of like, I'm so mad at the world. I'm so tired of her shit. If this buyer sends me one more listing, $50,000 over her budget that's been approved by the lender, I'm going to scream at her. If you were the crazy buyer, as somebody that used to be a home builder and used to be in real estate, I don't do real estate anymore. So I'm going to say this on behalf of all of my real estate clients and friends. No agent likes putting in an offer for $50,000 less just because you want it. And I don't care if that doesn't make me your friend. Sometimes you have to hear the hard things. I'm really good at that. There's going to be an eruption. I'm so mad. I'm so tired. I'm so this. I'm so frustrated. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. But whatever cracks open, whatever starts to come to the surface, it allows over the course of the week for Pluto to finally shake things off, to finally get over some pressure, to stop feeling so compressed and hurting and pain. And the thing is the longer you hold stress, the more you feel it in your body. Which is another reason why I'm saying like it needs to get worked out. You can either do the healthy workout or you can explode. Now, the sextile to Neptune, it's going to be between, I'm going to range it this way, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, because it's just over the exact point right here at 7:05. So Neptune's energy between 6 and 8 p.m., between 8 and 10 p.m., we get into Pluto's energy. So I'm literally just going to say from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., this is when everything's the most exact. This is when we get to that boiling point energy. I'm calling it a boiling point, but sometimes that eruption is not necessarily the explosive kind. It's more along the lines of, I just need to talk. There's some very deep levels of conversations that are about to start. And once they start, I don't feel like they stop. So there's two parts of the energy that I feel like carry from Monday into Tuesday. And when we get into Tuesday, fast forwarding this now to the 1st, I'm going to line the chart up to the full moon, and then I'm going to leave it alone. So, where are we at? Sure, that's fine. So, for those that are listening to the audio version, I have this August 1st, 2:05 p.m. Central Standard Time. The moon is at 9 degrees, 37 minutes. The sun is at 9 degrees, 17 minutes. So, we're like 30 minutes past the exact of the full moon, but it's fine. It's fine for where we're at on the screen. Now, there's other transits that are going on, and they actually go exact a little bit more in the evening time. The full moon is in the middle of the day for us here in the Americas. Full moons usually have to do with completions, but I'm looking at the fact that we were building up to this full moon, and we had that pressurized point, and for some people this will be a completion. What the night before, it could have been like the venting, the growling. I'm so sick and tired. The boss is like, he's trying to ruin everything, and I can't fix everything. That I don't have the ability to fix the things that he's supposed to do because he is the owner. He is the boss. I can't fix the owner's stuff. Like, nobody can. That's supposed to be the owner. Like, they're responsible ones for a reason. But you're seeing that the responsibility hasn't been going well. So we get to the next day and we hit our limit and we try to talk to the boss. The boss doesn't want to listen. And we might get to the point that either somewhere between Monday and Tuesday, it's telling the boss, okay, take the job and shove it. Figure it out. You deal with your own mess. Not everybody's going to like that. But there is an element of having to address an authority figure or having to do something with an elder, having to talk certain things out. Because once the moon goes into Aquarius, this is an air sign. We're talking. But this is not the gossipy air sign. It's not Gemini and it's not Libra. I'm a Gemini sun and Mercury. Like I said, I can call them the gossipy ones. They're also shit talkers. But this is Aquarius. This is fixed air. This is purposeful. It's necessary. Structural. We go from a physical need to release and relieve and decompress to now having the conversations, to now voicing something, to now dealing with certain things, announcing them. The notes that I have for today were like boisterous, pronounced, announced, strategizing, conversing, maybe negotiating more so, comprehension. We need to comprehend some things. Like, look, I've been so stressed that last night I ended up in the ER because I thought I was having a stroke. I didn't have a stroke. I was having an anxiety attack. We need to talk. This is not working. Something needs to adjust. Something needs to change. The night before could have been finally cracking open about how you've been feeling. I miss them. I swear I didn't mean for this to go this way. I need to do better. I need to step up. I need to take more responsibility. But I don't know how to get started. It's been so long. In other ways, it's saying, I feel so horrible and I don't know how to deal with it. And it's trying to talk through your depression. It's trying to talk through the things that are weighing you down, because we need to talk through the things that are pressurizing us. This is a full moon in Aquarius. The pressure needs to stop, and it needs to transform, and it needs to grow into something else. We need to shift things. Not necessarily the full hard right. Some of you it will be, especially if you go into the boss and tell him to piss off. But some of us, it needs to be a gradual turn. We need to make necessary structural turns. Oh, there's an echoing in this. Now this is going to sound a little hinky to a few of you, but hear me out. When I say echoing, I mean, like, think the purposeful conversation and the announcement. What happens afterwards is people start to talk about it. So some kind of news gets released, whether this is in the macro sense, in the big picture sense, or in the micro sense of like individuality. There's something that gets announced that affects multiple people. And the reason I'm saying multiple people is because of the rest of the transits that are going to play out on Monday. One of those is Jupiter. All the mass, Jupiter, is in a trine to Mars. Now, trines are triangles. Trines are whenever like elements connect with one another. So, I said this for Monday. We had the trine to Uranus. Now I'm explaining this a little bit better on this one. The trine is earth to earth, air to air, water to water, fire to fire. It's supposed to be easy, helpful, supportive energy. If you thought you were having a stroke and come to find out you were having an anxiety attack, and now you're talking to the boss the next day saying, something has to change, it's putting too much stress on me. If you have a good boss, then the support should be there. Or it's talking to your team and telling them that they need to take something else on. It's starting to get to the point that we have to share certain responsibilities and share certain burdens because we have tried to take on too much. We think that we're Superman or Superwoman, and we're going to try to fix everything in the world and do all of the projects and do all the cooking and do all the cleaning and knit our own stuff and grow our own food. We're trying to be 20 people at once. Hi, I am the problem. I do this a lot. I'm just being fair. Jupiter's trine to Mars is, we know the path and we need things to go a certain way. And for this to happen, for the method and the actions, because Mars is about action, for this action to happen, we need support, either financially, Jupiter, or from a group of people, Jupiter. Jupiter is about prosperity and wealth, hope, our dreams, having things come together. It's in a very stable sign. Jupiter's doing very, very well in Taurus. For the most part, we're doing all these things to try to stabilize our economy, not necessarily knowing for sure if that's going to work or not, but I think we'll know that more next year, closer to the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. That's tangent. Whoop, squirrel. Jupiter is trying to create stability. And Jupiter's stability is meant to offer support now to Mars. And Mars is in Virgo, which is the organizational sign. It is putting things into their place. It is trying to find the correct methodology. It's getting to the nitty-gritty of what is in the bylines and the guidelines and the rules and the regulation. And we're starting to also see that some of the new rules or regulation is going to be a part of the announcement. For some of us, you're going to your job and you want to have one conversation with your boss and it leads to a whole other one. For some of you, he is going to be supportive, and then the announcement is going to be, we're going to have to hire somebody else, or we're going to change some things in the positions, which again is going to allow for support. This is all positive ways, but not everybody is going to get the positive. Some people are going to get frustrated, and somebody are going to have harder conversations. Mercury's opposition to Saturn kind of emphasizes there is going to be some that it's not an easy conversation. The thing about Saturn being in Pisces, and Pisces having to do so much with traditions and beliefs and long-standing things, is there's going to be some of our elders and authority figures and people that are in power that when we're trying to talk to them, they're only going off of their experience, and their experience has not grown into the new. It has not transgressed into where things are now. If everything's still on a Rolodex and physical paper, you're still writing out ledgers and physical checks versus having them printed up, that's the stuff that needs to change. Just an example. And presenting those things to the boss, to using tools to now alleviate pressure off of you, may result in frustrations, and it may result in some arguments, and it may result in the conversation not going quite the way that we planned. And this is why I'm saying for some people, this energy will definitely carry over into Wednesday. So, again, full moon, August 1st, so this is Tuesday, full moon in Aquarius, Jupiter trine Mars. Now this is actually going to go exact 3:40 p.m. So I'm just before that goes exact on the screen. The Mercury opposition to Saturn actually happens at 9:10 p.m. Considering what that means in our real life, like we might not have the rough conversation, with our boss. We might just come home tense and frustrated and mad, and we start voicing our issue to our significant other. And they are the ones that make the comment of, well, maybe you don't need to be there anymore. Maybe that's the change that needs to happen. Maybe to alleviate some of this pressure off of you, you need to take a step back. And that is also really emphasized based off of around that same time that this perfects. So right now I've got the screen at 9:05 p.m., still on August 1st. Saturn is at 5 degrees 38 minutes. Mercury is at 5 degrees 37 minutes. So we're definitely at home. A lot of us. If you work evenings, that's different. We're at home when this conversation happens, and this conversation happens right after the square between the moon and Jupiter, and this literally happens between 8 and 9 p.m. The moon, Jupiter. And what is Jupiter doing? It's in this trine to Mars. So it's like asking how the day went and then finding out he's a shithead. He's not going to listen because he thinks he knows everything and he thinks that he's right and he doesn't want his ego to be hurt. Well, then it sounds like you have to make a decision. Are you going to keep putting up with it, or are you going to make a change? Are you going to look at that other job offer? We had that job offer not too long ago. Maybe they're still interested. Maybe we need to do something different. Mercury's opposition to Saturn can be talking about the effects of the day, or if we're dealing with two separate entities and two separate issues, so work is one hot mess and then home is another, indirectness, then we might actually get to the point that at the end of the day, what we're dealing with is that elder situation. We're revisiting the conversations from the night before, but now that the moon is in Aquarius, we're not having the explosive energy, we're having the more responsible conversations. Mercury's opposition to Saturn. We're working through emotions, and we're working through things, and we're finding practical ways of doing things. Okay. So I'm going to fast forward this. We're going to get into August 2nd, which is going to be Wednesday. The moon's going to be in Aquarius all day until about 10 p.m. Central Time. Where are you at? There we go. Okay. So those that are listening to the audio version, I have the screen at August 2nd at 10:05 a.m. Central Time. The moon in Aquarius right now is at 22 degrees and 22 minutes, and it is entering the square to Uranus. Now, Jupiter and Mars are still in their trine. This went exact on Tuesday, but it was building Saturday, Sunday, Monday, going into Tuesday. We will still be dealing with this energy Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So there's something that's solidifying even now, even though the exact has gone away. We're past the exact point. We're still in the energy. They're less than a degree apart in the trine. So we're still trying to get certain things supported. We're still dealing with the effects of something. We're still feeling how things are going to be shifted moving forward. Mercury is still in its opposition to Saturn. Even they, at this time, are still less than a degree apart in their separation. So that conversation that you had last night of like, he's still got his head up his ass, I don't know that he's ever going to change, and it's starting to really impact all of my coworkers and all of everything else, like it's impacting the business, then the next day can be the conversation of, if this doesn't change, I have to leave. Well, I'm not stopping you. I always think that bosses are going to be salty about that. Some are really nice, but a lot of bosses still tend to be salty. So we are still feeling the effects of the full moon energy. And considering the moon is still in Aquarius, we are definitely feeling the effects of full moon energy. Now, the moon is also in Uranus' sign while it's in a square to Uranus. This is like getting help or getting insight or getting perspective from somebody that has been in your situation before. Explaining how it felt to you. How did you handle this? I remember whenever everything was going really crappy at the insurance agency or wherever they were working, the ad agency, this company over here. How did you work through it? How did you overcome it? How did you get better? What did you do different? Oh, you didn't do anything different. You just left. Oh, okay. But some people do different, but hear me out. The moon in Uranus' sign, squaring Uranus, is asking for perspective or guidance on how to continue based off of their experience, when they were in your shoes. Where it's not always easy to walk in somebody else's shoes. So this feels a lot like, tell me what it was like whenever you were here. When you did this, whether it has to do with work or whether it has to do with your personal life, this can have to do with travel, especially the travel aspect. That's an easier one to think about. Like, whenever you vacationed in the Bahamas, what hotel did you go to? And where did you visit? And what would you suggest? And where would you want to go? And you can actually be talking to more than one person about stuff like that. That's not a heavy way to look at this transit. But there's definitely some excitement in that energy if we're not having to deal with like the negativity of boss situations. Okay. As the day continues, the moon will leave its square to Uranus and it's going to enter an opposition to Venus. So again, for the audio people, I got this at August 2nd at 4:05 p.m. Central Standard Time. I have the moon in Aquarius just now entering its opposition to Venus. So this is going to be felt the most between 3:30 and 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So oppositions can be confronting. It can be coming around the corner and finding something. It can be arriving and realizing that, oh, I thought this was just going to be like a casual dinner and you're dressed to the nines. I could have wore something besides PJs. I mean, you could have hooked me up and told me what was going on. There's something here where we need to face something or someone, but this isn't a new someone, it's an old someone. Venus is retrograde. We have an established connection. We have an established relationship. There's something here that is definitely in connection with another person. Now, Venus was at 26 degrees of Leo just a month ago. After we got into July, like Venus only went from the 20, was it 20 or 22? It was only just, it wasn't even a full 10 degrees. Like it was either 8 or 6 all through the month of July. I think it was 22. So like 22 degrees all the way to 28 degrees, and then she turned retrograde. Now that Venus is going backwards and back at that 26 degree mark, there can be things from that middle part of July that starts to come back up again, that's starting to get revisited. We are having a conversation. We're trying to get something worked out. We realize somebody broke up and they're telling us about it. You're seeing somebody in their hot girl summer days. And you're like, woo, go, yeah, baby. Proud of you. In other aspects, it can be addressing the someone that's coming back around going, hey, are you ready to put certain things in order? Are you ready to do something different? Are you ready to go somewhere different? Can we do this? Oh no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to go a different direction. I've decided on doing something else. I've changed my mind. I don't want this. I don't want that. Or it's going to be the exact opposite. Venus coming back around and she's in her hot girl summer going, I want everything in the store. Oh. For a lot of people, we get into this part of the evening and it's a lot more lighthearted with that opposition to Venus. Going between Uranus and Venus, I like their energy because I always feel like it's very, very exciting. But I still feel like a lot of the conversations are very, very purposeful because we're still riding that full moon energy. We're still riding that recent eruption energy, and we're still trying to see Pluto decompress because Pluto is still in a square with the nodes. They're just separating. The nodes are still at 28 degrees. They're at 28 degrees, 12 minutes, and Pluto's at 28 degrees, 50 minutes. So as the week is continuing, the conversations that are being had, the topics that are being discussed, the awareness that is coming to the surface, as that is happening, it is taking pressure off of Pluto. Capricorn risings, the pressure is starting to fall down. I promise. It's starting to fall away. You're not going to feel it as much. Okay. Whatever happens in this moon Venus opposition, and again, that's the most exact between 3:30 and 5:30. So for some of us, we're getting a crazy phone call right at the end of business going, hey, you want to go out for karaoke and drinks tonight? Heck yeah, I do. You want to go shopping with me? You want to go do this with me? I just need a break. I need to break out. This sounds great. Let's do that. Whatever happens in that Venus opposition to the moon, whether that is a positive energy or a negative energy for you, because you could be fighting with a loved one because you got the credit card bill. Whatever this is, it carries us through the rest of the evening. So if it's good, then we're vibing for the rest of the night until the moon goes into Pisces. If it was negative, then we're potentially frustrated or mad or reeling again for the rest of the evening until the moon goes into Pisces. Now, the moon was actually going to go into Pisces just around 10 p.m., moving the wheel. Oh, it's just after. So I'm within 5 minutes. So I think it's closer to like 10:10. Because right now at 10:05, I've got the moon at 29 degrees, 59 minutes. So by 11, yeah, the moon's been in here for a little bit. So between 10:10 and 10:30 is when the moon will go into Pisces. And usually whenever the moon goes from Aquarius to Pisces, like you see the vibing energy, the fun, mentally activated energy kind of calming down, finding a soothing energy, finding something settling us down. The moon is going into Pisces, and there's going to be deep emotions that need to be worked through these next few days based off of what has recently come to light. The explosive energy of Pluto, quaking energy of Pluto, whatever popped up Sunday going into Monday, has now had a much more verbal, expressed, talked through energy. There's been some arguments, there's been some tension, there's been some frustration all during that full moon. And now the moon is in Pisces, and we got to take that step back. We don't talk in this moment. We're working through. We're dealing with some very deep emotions that are starting to really come about. Thinking of all those stages that we go through whenever it comes to like grief or anger and everything else. Like sometimes you got to sit in your emotions and cry it out or talk it out or something like that. But there's some very deep things that have just been shaken up that are going to get worked through these next few days. Now, the moon is in Pisces, and in that overnight time period, the moon is going to make a conjunction to Saturn. This takes us into Thursday morning, August 3rd. So for those that are on the audio version, I have the screen. It is at 7:05 p.m. Central Standard Time. The moon will make its conjunction to Saturn between 6 and 8 a.m. There's a lot of lunar transits to Thursday. So there's a lot of busyness. Even though we're working through something, we're trying to deal with the things that have like flooded our senses, so to speak, that has recently boiled up to the surface. So parts of the things that have just come to the surface are going to have us bouncing a little bit. Parts of the decision that just came through that full moon, it's going to have us bouncing a little bit. It's going to be having us deal with some things. The moon making its conjunction to Pluto and then hitting its opposition to Mercury, it can kind of reactivate what has happened in the last few days. And it's like, if we did hit our wall, we tried to talk to the boss on Tuesday, didn't want to listen. We get into Wednesday, you're still not going to listen? Okay, then I'm going to make a very bold move and I'm going to leave. I'm going to walk out, I'm going to quit, screw it. We can feel really excited in the moment, but then the next day, a whole different weight of reality kicks in. Like, why did I do that? I've been at this job for 13 years. Why did I do this? Am I making the right decision? Do I want that job offer? Do I want to go in this other direction? There's an awareness here. There's a reality sinking in and an emotion in regards to the responsibilities that we have, the responsibilities that we need to take, the responsibilities of where we need to look at. There's going to be something that very much grabs our attention and sets the stage for how some of the things are going to go for the next few days. Now, for some of us, the moon's conjunction to Saturn can also bring an awareness. If there has been a health-related issue these last few weeks of July going into August that has now hit a head, let's say with somebody that's an elder or a respected person that you always see as an authority figure, so not necessarily your family elder, but like your dad's best friend who's always been your uncle but is not actually your uncle, like that type of thing. You respect him, he's taught you a lot of things, but he's not truly your blood. That's why I'm saying it that way. There's an awareness here. We see something in the elder. We see something change in an authority figure. We're addressing something, or we're having some type of news come through. If it was a health issue, let's say that going back to that stroke that was mistaken as an anxiety attack, that doesn't mean that we don't still need to work through the anxiety. And we might need to have conversations to get things lined out for that. And that's the responsible thing to do. That's the right thing to do, to work through certain things. And this kind of feels like that energy too. We're very, very aware of something or someone that has just recently come to the surface, that has recently came about. And a lot of us are going to be in our feels. It's going to be a little bit heavier. Can be a little argumentative, especially whenever it's coming to this moon's Saturn, moon, Mercury energy. Grandpa's having an issue getting his doctor's appointment set, so you come home and find out that he can't get these things done, so now you're the one on the phone with the doctor going, hey, this is so-and-so. We need an appointment. We need this. This is the problem. This is what's going on. This is what I have found. And we start doing something extra. After the moon, it leaves its opposition to Mercury. It's not going to do a whole lot for a little bit. It's not really until the evening. So I feel like if we're doing things in the morning, like it's setting those appointments, it's setting those the doctor's appointments, it's trying to work up the energy to create that old resume, looking at your past responsibilities, and now trying to put that into a cute little summary of like this big on a Word document so you can send it out. And again, trying to put all that into script is potentially going to bring up some emotions. Now, once we get to the evening time, and I want to be specific to what I'm talking about, this is going to be, the moon is going to sextile Jupiter between 7:30 and 9:30, and then it's going to enter the opposition to Mars. So there can be some questioning of another as to why we took a certain route, why we did something, or we can be questioning somebody else like, why did you think this was going to be a good idea? And this can very much be tied back to Monday and Tuesday because of the Jupiter-Mars trine. So there's something about the later parts of the third. So again, for me, that's between 7:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. Central Time, that we're revisiting, we're talking something through, we're trying to troubleshoot the situation, trying to troubleshoot the plan, trying to troubleshoot what changes are going about. And the other thing I want to bring up about Thursday evening going into Friday morning, so the overnight hours that we're getting into right now, is it is in these overnight hours that Mercury is entering its shadow officially. I maintain whatever's been going on since, when was that? Mars. I didn't write that down. Last Monday, the 24th, I think it was. Since the 24th, yeah. Mars was at Mercury's point of shadow. So there was a decision, an idea, an action that occurred around the 24th that now is coming back up, that is now leading to certain shifts and changes, plans, perspective, right here in this overnight. So going from the 3rd into the 4th. This is the stuff that is going to lead us into parts of the Mercury retrograde timeline. Mercury is entering shadow. What that means is that come September 14th is whenever the Mercury retrograde will end. So come that, let's say the 9th of September, when Mercury gets back to this point and starts spinning, to about the 19th, it's a good 10-day span usually, whatever topic we're talking about right here, we will be back at in September. But we'll have new information, new layers, more authority, more responsibility, more awareness. Because some things are going to get shaken off, some things are going to get built or developed. But we will be coming back to some parts of this week, this energy, mid-September. Okay. Oh. Review, deep discussions, long-term planning, deeper insight, deeper understanding, critical and emotional awareness. This is the notes that I wrote down specifically for this overnight time span for August 3rd. The weight and the heaviness right now are based off of the awareness that has just recently come through. Being in temporary energy the way that we are, a lot of what we're dealing with each week right now is 100% based off of the temporary energy tied to Venus's retrograde. So, moving this along, we're going to get into the fourth Friday. Friday. Now, I'm just moving this. Between 9:30 and 11:30 in the morning, the moon is going to sextile Uranus. Sextiles aren't crazy. They're inquisitive. They're curious. They're questioning. Hey, you want to do something next week? Hey, have you seen the new iPhone release? Hey, have you seen that they just came out again and said aliens are a real thing? Which, by the way, they actually said that back during COVID, but we were all so busy with COVID that nobody paid attention to it. So the coming out again based off of like the Trump files cracks me up because I'm like, but this isn't new. We actually talked about this already. Okay. This can be that. It's just like, hey, did you hear? Hey, you want to do? Hey, what's cracking? Hey, I want to talk to you. It'd be unexpected communication, but not necessarily in a horrible sense. It can just be questioning, getting insight, making a plan. Unexpected plan, like, hey, I got an extra ticket to this concert next week. Do you want to go with me? Yeah. And that would be, it's an inquisitive thing. It's just curiosity. It's questioning, but not negative questioning. I like it. It's not terrible, but it can bring unexpectedness, especially if you're in that business sense. You could be asking a question or having a question asked of you that, again, is not expected. This questioning can be a part of delays, either recent delays or it is causing a delay right then. Little hiccups of things that need to be fixed, worked through, overcome, dealt with. And we can have this energy all day long. And if all you do is spend your Friday fixing everybody else's mess and deal with everybody else's stupidity and bullshit and frustrations, like by the time we get to the end of the evening, we don't want to talk anymore. We're tired. We're frustrated. We don't want to deal with anybody. And you get through the last closing, you get through the last customer, you get to the end of the business day, and we're just checking out like, I'm going home and I don't want anything but whatever gives us comfort. Nostalgic comfort in some way, like I'm just going to go home, I'm going to put on my onesie, for those that actually do that, go and put on my onesie and I'm just going to sit there and watch Netflix and I'm going to watch Friends all over again. Something that is familiar, something that has nostalgia to it, something that you've done from the past, something that can be creative, can start to come through also. Like I'm going to go home and I just want to paint. I just want to do something different. I just want to work in the garden. I want to do something that's going to bring me balance. Now, this can have some emotions to it, and not necessarily everybody's going to go with the idea of I want comfort. Not everybody's going to go towards the nostalgia. Some people are going to need that meditation And reflection time, we need more time to process because some element of the day has us so confused and we need just time to work through it. Or we can be so frustrated that the only way we can deal with this evening is based off of, I need a drink. I need a drink, I need to smoke, I need to do something to work through this. And the thing is, I'm a little hesitant with anyone that wants to do that. Especially if the call earlier in the day was, hey, you want to go do karaoke tonight? Like, oh yeah, let's totally go to the bar. When the moon's conjunct Neptune like this, like, it can really make us a little more tipsy. It can really make us want the tipsiness. And I don't usually say that with the Neptune energy quite like that. But given the way the Pluto stuff worked and the fact that we go from the moon's conjunction to Neptune and then sextiling backwards to Pluto, not forward like with Uranus earlier in the day, there's a reflective energy to it. And sometimes we get to the end of the day and we just want to drink or smoke through our emotions. And if you stay home, I don't mind that so much. I'm more of a safety person in this regard than anything else. Whatever works for you is what works for you. I don't judge. But there's some part of this energy that tells me that if we're going out to get our frustrations out, to work through those emotions, that it can come back to bite us at the end of the night, because most bars close at 2 o'clock in the morning. So hear me out, okay? This is 6 p.m. The moon's conjunct Neptune. Then it's going to hit this sextile to Pluto. This is all going to happen before 9 o'clock at night. And then the moon goes void. So whatever the last two transits were, given what I'm talking about, I'm saying both, whatever the last transits were, tend to carry us through the rest of the night. We're trying to get over something, and right now we're sulking. A lot of people are in their feels, they're sulking, they're feeling the weight of everything. They need an outlet, creative outlet, and if we really tune into the energy going into the weekend, that can be great. However, not everybody is willing to be productive as I would like for them to be, because if we would all just try to put our energies towards more productive things, we'd have a very much more productive society. But hey, whatever. The moon is going to go into Aries. That's going to go between 10 and 11 o'clock at night. So right now I have the screen still August 4th at 11:05 p.m. and the moon is in Aries. I like the moon in Aries energy, to be honest, but given the way this week has gone, I don't like the moon in Aries right now, because I feel like there's this energy of part of this weekend that if you're not doing something productive and doing something that can be methodical, that can have a larger purpose, that can serve you in some way, if we're not putting our energy towards a healthy placement, that we can be the other side of it, and that is you play stupid games to win stupid prizes. Hear me out, because this is going to be part of the energy for the whole weekend. Once the moon goes into Aries, we become a little bit more reactive. And then roughly between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, the moon is going to enter a contrantition with Neptune. Now, this is I don't bring these up very often, but I feel like I'm going to be doing that a lot once we get into like Libra season, or the Libra transits here pretty soon. Because I notice these. I always notice, like, we've done something, we've sulked for so long, and now all of a sudden, like, I'm done with everything. And we start ripping the pictures off the wall, and we start tearing things up, and we start having like a rage fit. I don't mind that so much if you're at home. Keep the sledgehammer in the garage is the main thing I would say. Don't cause sheetrock damage. The other thing can be if you've gone out drinking and you've gone out having a good time and you're trying to work through everything, because we're trying to work through everything, which is fine, then this can also be, this is the moon in Mars' sign. This can also result in martial action. It'd be very easy to go out and have fun thinking that you've got everything handled and you're feeling your feels, and then you hit you hit that checkpoint in downtown. And even though you barely had anything, you still smell like alcohol. And it turns into a problem. This is one of those energies. And that's what I'm more trying to get into. I don't like this coming Friday as a night to go out and like drink and do crazy things. If you want to go out to the movies, go out to the movies. Like, I don't like this energy for people that like to go out to go drinking. Because I feel like we're going to see the next day that we're going to see a little bit more of either checkpoint energy where people got caught and arrested, or we're going to see accidents that didn't need to happen. And I know that's like very specific to a lot of people. Trust me, it's something that I'm picking up on. I'm a little fearful for some people on this. And given that Jupiter also can be that energy of boastfulness and joy and overflowing cups, so to speak, in that trine to Mars, I am again saying there can be either too much celebration that gets met with a harsh reality, or too much in our feels that get met with a very unlucky evening. That's the best way I can describe it. Keep your ass at home. Don't be afraid to step back at some point this weekend if necessary. But I don't feel like that's going to be the case for everybody. I feel like a lot of people that once the moon goes into Aries, it's going to lighten up, be a good time to put on the music and just, work through things in a creative aspect. Friday evening going into now Saturday. So I've had it on Saturday for a minute, but now I'm officially going to talk about Saturday. So right now, the moon is in Aries. I've got it at 7:05 a.m. Central Standard Time. Between 7:30 and 9:30 in the morning, we're going to have a different energy, and that is... Do I have this in the right day? Where did I get this? Oh, it's PM. I don't know why I'm on AM. Dusty does stupid things. Dusty's owning that. The moon in Aries all day. I was like, why do I feel like I've messed something up? Because I did. So there's going to be this energy as we get deeper into the day. But the moon's in Aries all day. Who rules Aries? Mars. Mars is in Virgo. Mars is looking at practicality. Mars is looking at order. Mars is looking at things that need to be completed, unfinished tasks, unfinished projects, new directions that need foundations built. There is something that needs to have new order created. And this new order is something that we need to take time to work through. Now, for a lot of people, whenever it comes to this weekend, when it comes to Saturday, like, I really, whatever action or activity you want to take on, like, it needs to be one that allows for both a mental and physical release. You need a different kind of challenge. It's going to allow for you to work through your emotions, but in a healthy, productive way. Mentally, we need to get some things, we need to change the direction of where our focus is mentally. And usually whenever we have that mental refocusing, it takes the pressure off the other area. So there's a couple different things that I was looking at as to like how this could work out in regards to the way I'm describing it. Is one, cleaning out the garage, reorganizing it, actually like putting things in order, putting together the garage sale or something like that, like separating out, this is what I'm keeping, this is what I'm selling. Again, it's taking an action, it's changing your mental focus. You can put on the music, you can rage clean, kick everybody out of the house. I'm like, I'm sick of this, get out. And you just rage clean afterwards. I'm one that I put on my metal music whenever I do that. We can take on another type of like project. So like my Jeepers, like this feels like the day that we want to like get everybody in the driveway and we're like, everybody's doing their modifications on the same day. So like somebody's putting on their bumper, somebody's putting on a new winch, somebody's trying to do a lift. And again, there's an action being taken. It is distracting us from the other things that are going on. But at the same time, there's a purpose to it. Something that will have a longer effect than just the moment. And if we don't have the healthy release, then we can tend to have other things. We can be a little bit more impulsive We can be very irritable with the moon in Aries, especially if we don't have a healthy outlet. I do like this energy for people that need like critical thinking. I don't know why, but every time I look at this transit, I'm like, this is a great weekend for people to learn trails and learn to off-road. Learning an activity or an action, but from a critical standpoint. So it's like taking those first motorcycle lessons or dirt bike lessons. I'm in an Aries energy here. It is learning like the tools and how to like dismantle your wheels and everything. Like there's a very critical element to an action that is being understood, that is being taken upon, that is meant to be learned in this area. We're trying to do something that creates order, that gives purpose, that takes an action. But I know not everybody is going to go with the healthy outlet, so let's talk about how this can also feel reckless. Saturday and Sunday, but it's going to start on Saturday, so we're on Saturday. Oh, so like I said before, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Okay. If you are restless and you don't know what you're doing and you're having a fit about how this week has went and you're trying to get your aggression out, you can get to the point that you do something stupid. And I feel like that's, again, going to be something more in the nighttime hours. So just as much as Friday night, I don't like Saturday night for going out and drinking either. And I don't like it for night wheeling, jeepers. I don't like it for night wheeling. So again, don't play stupid games to win stupid prizes. We can feel like that we want to show something off as we get to the end of the day, as we get deeper into the 6th. Sorry, I don't know why I kept fast warning this. If we're doing a project, there's always that moment where you realize you're not going to get the project done in the first day. Either you can't get that bolt off, you can't get something to line up, you've moved everything out of the garage, but you could only get so far. So now you're trying to contemplate, can I leave this in the driveway? Can I just put tarps over it? Will it be left alone? Or do I actually need to put everything back in the freaking garage just to take it all back out in the morning? Like, we get to that moment at the end of the day that we're kind of frustrated and we need to take the step back. For some of us, as the moon hits this trine to the sun, it's also entering a very specific energy with Mars that's not directly noticeable. And that is, you've been working on something all day and you're trying to show it off, but it gets met with questioning. It gets met with tension or frustration, or you don't get the response that you wanted. You're proud of it and you're still working, but you don't necessarily get the response that you want. And there can be, again, some tension to the later parts of Saturday. If you can't get the bolt off, don't get the grinder. Just take a step back and go eat, go take the shower, especially if you've been working in the heat all day. That's not helping you either. Take that step back, because whenever you come back in the morning, the criticalness will be better. Like, your mind will be better. If we get so irritated by the end of Saturday that we become reactive because somebody's questioning what we did, it's not going to be fun. Now, don't be afraid to take a step back. I just keep thinking that. Take the step back, go to bed, get a break, and understand that there's going to be tomorrow to get into the rest of the work, to finish up this project, to wrap up where we're at the moment. There is going to be a bit more of a mental break for some people, but there can also be an unexpected conversation that happens. Now, for a lot of people, this is going to happen anywhere on Sunday. For some people, we're going to get an early morning phone call that somebody did something stupid. And somebody needs to get bailed out. Some of us are going to get that call. Some of us are going to get another kind of call on Sunday morning, or we're making calls on Sunday morning about the condition, about how something needs to get worked through, or about something that just happened that now we need to fix it, or there's something that has kind of came to the surface overnight with that elder that, like, now you're in the hospital. But we can get that early morning phone call next Sunday that can kind of, in some ways, derail what you were just working on, or it just puts the awareness there. Now, if we are dealing with the stupid prize winner, that conversation can also lead to other things throughout the day about how they are going to be dealing with their responsibility, how the actions of what they have done is going to lead to where they need to go next. And that is spoken through more than one transit. It's actually very much spoken through Jupiter and it's square to the sun. Now, Jupiter's in the higher authority in this moment. The sun is in its own sign. It's in Leo, which is what it rules. Jupiter is very well placed in Taurus, but Jupiter is starting to slow down. And literally within a month of this square, Jupiter will turn retrograde. So even if in this exact moment this part doesn't happen, it might happen in the weeks following. There is a lesson. There is knowledge. There is a desire, an intention, a hope of some sort that Jupiter is impressing onto the sun, and the sun being in its home sign. This is like, I need you to understand, you did this to you. This is your actions. This is your fault. This was your ego that came to the surface. You wanted to do what you wanted to do, and then you got hit at a checkpoint, or then you got arrested. Jupiter square from the sun, if we're dealing with the health issue, this can be the medical professional, Jupiter being the medical professional now, giving light, giving insight, explaining what has occurred, explaining the status of the sun, giving lessons to the sun. The reason you felt like you were having a stroke is because it was actually an anxiety attack. That means we need to do other things to not have this happen again. This can also be a spiritual teacher, an actual teacher, a guru, a yogi, an astrologer, whoever. Jupiter square to the sun can be additional insight and an additional lesson. But there could also be an energy that's saying, like, if this happens again, I'm not going to help. This is your fault. This is your decision. This was your thing. You're going to deal with your thing. Jupiter square to the sun. In some ways, I don't necessarily feel like everything's going to be negative. There can be a grandiose energy also whenever it comes to the Jupiter Sun square, because there can also be this energy of like, we've had all week to get prepared between Jupiter's trine to Mars. Once the moon went into Aries, is now all of a sudden we have the ability to create something, to start something, to build something, to put our passion into a very specific area. And once the Jupiter Sun square perfects, which actually perfects later in the evening, by the way, we can show it off. We can debut it. We can talk about how much more we're going to be able to do now that the space has been redone, now that the garage is cleared out. Like, now I can actually put the cars in here. That's not very grandiose. Now I can actually turn this into like a grow space or a medicinal space or a workout space. Like, it's going to have a purpose in its function. And we start to talk about like all the plans that we plan to do with this new space, like all the room for activities. Like, we're super excited with the square of Jupiter and the sun. So it doesn't all have to be heavy. And there is some part of this that also speaks to relieving pressure. Why do I say that? Pluto and the nodes. If you noticed, this weekend the nodes went to 27 degrees. They're starting to separate from the square to Pluto. There's been something that has depressurized from Pluto. Pluto's starting to get some relief. And as we get to this evening part, here's the moon in Aries. It's going to trine Venus right around the same time that Jupiter is perfecting its square to the sun. There's a desire, an intent, passions. I want us to do better. I want to start again. I want us to talk more. I want us to fix this. What is the first step? What actions can be done? Even though the moon is in Aries, Mars is still in Virgo, so it's very practical and critical and analyzing what steps to take in what way. There's a methodicalness to it. This methodicalness is meant to offer stability. As the moon enters the trine to a very retrograde Venus, therefore Venus is moving towards the moon as the moon is moving towards Venus, there's also an awareness of reciprocation. I feel the same way, or I don't feel the same way. It could also be the reality check of, like, I'm never coming back. This is done. I'm going to remind everybody Venus retrogrades are temporary energy. So you could be pronouncing that we're never going to talk again right now, and that can turn around. Can, not will, can. But if it's going to turn around, it's going to turn around later, not during the retrograde. Oh, but there is definitely an expression, and for a lot of people, there's a receptiveness to it. It might require, shifts in our understanding, but there's something about overcoming a fear and overcoming certain frustrations and overcoming something next weekend. And as we get to the later parts of Sunday, we really start to understand that. So what's going to happen is in the later part, so this is all going to happen between like 9 p.m. and all the way up to like 1 o'clock in the morning going into Monday, based off of just how I'm about to explain this. So the moon is going to make a conjunction to the North Node. This is what I desire. This is what I will have. This is what I want. This is what I plan to do. This is what I've been working towards. North Node, destiny-like energy. Still squaring Pluto. And then the moon's going to come in and also hit that conjunction North Node and square Pluto. But Pluto's retrograde. We're talking about this old fear, this old idea, this recent discovery, this recent situation, and how we can progress from here, how we move forward from here. And there is something in this energy between the square of Pluto and the trine to Venus. It is overcoming something to allow something else to stabilize over the next few days. A hope to stabilize, a desire to stabilize, an intention of some sort. And that really expresses what's going to happen once we get into the next week. And that's whenever the moon's going to go into Taurus. This is a transitional week. That's the best way I can describe it. This is a highly transitional week. We are transitioning from one awareness to another, from one situation to another. We're relieving and releasing tension and pressure so something else can start to take shape. It is in the expressions from that pressure, from that situation, from that problem, from that struggle, power struggle, or the capability of taking back your own power. It is in that energy that started at the beginning of the week with Pluto that leads us into the end of the week. And then we will start to tie some things together because Pluto is going to finally have some relief from everything that has put pressure onto Pluto. So again, Capricorn risings, the pressure is starting to fall away. I promise you, it's going to get better this week. You just got to talk, and y'all ain't good at talking, but your chart ruler's in your third house, so you got to talk. There's going to be some communication this week, but necessary communication. Purposeful communication. Needed. Relieving. Responsible. Comprehensive. Cohesive. In a lot of ways. And if it isn't going to be cohesive, then we're going to make some very sharp decisions because we're all very, very tired of the nonsense. Anyways. Oh, I love and appreciate every single one of you. I do like the energy this week. I understand that my examples always tend to like go from one extreme to the other. But the thing is like for some people, these weeks are going to be the one extreme to the other. For some people, some of these events aren't nearly as heavy as the ones that I describe, but you do still feel that wave of energy. You feel when the moon changes signs. You feel when certain transits are starting to grab, or you can see. And especially if you know, like right around the time span, like something's going to go the most exact, you can see when transits grab certain people, and it's very interesting. So just because one of these transits at the exact time that I gave you doesn't necessarily impact you, what you can learn the next day is that, oh, wow, that was a lot. Are you serious? You just quit? Oh my God. That happens. And that's a part of the echoing effect that I said that's going to be a part of this week too. The boisterous echoing effect. Telling everybody, announcing it, and having so many people talk about it. But again, it doesn't feel like gossip. It feels purposeful. It's spreading the word that an action or a situation has occurred. A disruption has occurred in some ways. Okay. Again, I love and appreciate every single one of you. Message me through the Spiritually Bougie page if you have questions or you need some additional insight about this week. The plan is to next do the August month ahead video, which I already have my notes for that. And then I also, as long as everything stays in order, right here, just because I know the transits doesn't mean I'm immune to them. So as long as everything stays in order the way that I've been able to maintain it so far, and I don't have any trips to the hospital, then I should have both the August video and the full moon in Aquarius video. And in that full moon in Aquarius video, I usually go over it based off of the ascendant. So if you are new to astrology and you do not know your ascendant, you don't know your rising sign, because it's the same thing, then you can still message me through the Spiritually Bougie page, and I will happily pull your chart for you. I don't charge for stuff like that. So I'll pull your chart, I'll explain little things to you, and if you want a reading, we can go from there. But I pull charts all the time. That's just a normal thing for me. So just remember that after I pull your chart, that means I'm going to have it forever. So there. All right, guys. I will talk to you soon. Subscribe.